Hello, welcome to Cerulean Arts Gallery. Tonight we're speaking with Michael Smith in conjunction with his Cerulean Arts Collective Exhibition, which is on view now through June the 1st. Hello, Michael.
Hello, Mike.
Thanks for being here tonight.
Well, thanks for mounting the exhibition.
Please tell us about it.
It's a little bit of a continuation of the work that I showed in my last show with your gallery. Um, so those would be a continuation of the Architectural House series that I started right around the beginning of the COVID years. And they really grew out of just an inability to really do much of anything besides be in our neighborhood, walking the dogs. And I think because of those, walking dogs day in, day out, that I started to look at the homes in my neighborhood in a way that I probably didn't before because I wasn't spending as much time with the the homes in my neighborhood up until then. So I just saw them as potential inspiration for the work that I had been doing up to this point, which was more abstract in nature, but still very much shape oriented. So when I started to look at the homes, especially the ones that I felt had a lot of personality, I saw the possibility to carry on the shape-oriented work that I had been working on for many years, but in a more sourced way from, I would say, direct observation, which I really haven't worked from direct observation in a really long time. So I just felt that I could grab the essence of these homes and bring the color and concentrate on more of the architectural forms that make up the houses. And then bringing my own sense of color to the homes. And so that's just been a continuation of that work, which feels like it's been going on for 4 or 5 years now. Um, I'm walking dogs for um, I'm just doing some volunteer dog walking that takes me into other neighborhoods beyond my local neighborhood. So I've had some more source material by doing that. So along the way, I also started this entirely different second group of work. I wouldn't say it's entirely different because it's still involved in the same type of architectural forms, shape, color, but obviously the source material is much different. So with this is something that's been knocking around in my head for a long time. I'm always very much drawn to early Christian Byzantine paintings, primarily because of the way that they were struggling or looking for a way to understand perspective. Some more or less successful than others, but I just really find the work almost almost like outsider art, where there's sort of a naive quality to it. A lot of times when they put together the surroundings that these things take place, whatever they are, loaded up with people, I feel that it's partly out of their imagination or they're just using some stock things that they've used before. And so I've looked at this work and with sort of fascination for a long time, but I really haven't done anything with it outside of my own curiosity. But I've always felt that it had some commonalities in the work that I was doing, whether it was just the pure shape-oriented work or moving into the house series. So probably about a year ago, shortly after my last show with your gallery, I started thinking of this as potential source material, as something that I could do that was much different or away from the architectural home series. And so these are the product of that, of me looking at early Christian, early Byzantine, anywhere from really 700, 800 up until about 1200. And these paintings I will come across in museums a lot of times, or I will find work in books, or I'll look online. And so when I find a painting that has an architectural setting in a city, or there's architectural forms around a scene, I will take a photograph of it and basically just try to collect images. So most of these paintings are a combination of a number of paintings. I strip away all the people, not really of interest to me. Whatever the people are doing in the scene, which is most interesting to me, is the backdrop, the place where the scene takes place. And so I've been accumulating photographs of this early Christian Byzantine work, and I can print them out and I can use tracing paper to draw out or draw over the things that I find interesting. And then I can use those tracings to combine to make up a composition that I think might work as a painting. And then later transfer that final tracing to a panel and then bring my own color sensibilities to it. So that's what's going on with the two different series, the House series, and then this being sort of the early Christian Byzantine series.
So, Michael, do you feel the graphic quality comes also from your background as a printmaker?
I think that's always there. It's been a while since I've made prints, but I think initially that sort of on the surface plane, very graphic, that sensibility has been there for a long time. I think I was drawn to printmaking over more traditional painting or any type of painting method because printmaking to me felt very graphic. Not that I was interested in being a graphic designer, but I liked the way that the colors and forms sort of sat or existed on more of a frontal plane. And so I think that goes all the way back to undergraduate years when I first was introduced to printmaking and started to make shape-oriented work or largely work that I felt was flat. Um, and then that has been something that's been with my work for probably over 40 years now in some way, shape, or form. And so, yeah, I feel that there's a little bit more perspective space in the home series than I would say in something like the early Christian Byzantine series. I do feel that there is a deeper, not much deeper, but a deeper perspective space between, like in this painting, from the sidewalk to the trees that sit in back of the house. So it's still pretty much on the front of the picture plane, but there's a more of a sense of perspective space, I think.
So, are you referencing local color or are you inventing the color?
No, the colors are always invented. Um, some more than others, like this house here, none of those colors exist in the home at all. And that's a question I get asked from people look at these. They think these are real homes. And outside of the essence of an outline or maybe where windows might appear or how a front porch might be attached, there's still for me enough of a distance between the actual painting and the source of the actual house. There is an actual house that I could take you and we could stand in front of this house. The trees are added later as a compositional device. So you would might recognize the house, but I feel, at least for me, it's a distant source.
So, the dash appears a lot.
Yeah, it does. That's true. And that really comes from me looking at Cubist work for a long time. Um, again, flat graphic work. And I think what the Cubists did to help activate space. So they might have a space that they're working with that's a flat color. To activate that space, there would be dots, dashes. And so I really lift that right out of my my love of sort of cubist flat work to help animate a space more than just the color itself. And so it's color on top of color. So which is sort of an impressionistic thing. So rather than just the flat color itself, there will be a color that might be a complementary color or a color that might help to activate that space a little bit more than if it were just all plain color with no marcation in between in the spaces. This painting here to me is more cubist influenced than I would say the Home series or the Byzantine series. This is meant to be very flat on the surface. There's not much perspective space at all, and the marks within the space are directly lifted out of my appreciation for cubist work and the way that they handled shape and form.
And you work in acrylic, yes?
Yes, I do. Acrylic, Prismacolor. So the red lines that you see that really are the outside borders of the forms, those are all sort of a red Prismacolor.
Ah.
So rather than paint, it has a different look to it. It's more of a drawn line as opposed to a painted line. And so I will use Prismacolor sometimes on top of a paint. Just to help strengthen an area or to have a different type of mark. So it does happen from time to time where that Prismacolor will find its way into the actual painted surface. But when I get to the point of having a composition, and it's almost always the composition or the final composition, it's on a piece of tracing paper, it's really old school. I will just put some charcoal or Conte crayon on the back of that tracing paper and then use that to transfer the line to the panel. And then I'll reinforce that line with the red Prismacolor. So in all the paintings, you'll see that red Prismacolor line sort of defining the various shapes within the composition.
Now, that method of tracing is like a Renaissance thing.
Yeah, but it's the easiest for me. It's very simple and easy. You just have, and the nice thing about the tracing paper is that you can make really last minute adjustments, and so it's just graphite. So if I put it down, I can change things really easily. So there, when you zoom in, you can see the the Prismacolor outlines, and I can strengthen those if I should paint over them, or I'll use a small little scraping device to scrape the paint out of them. The line itself is the first thing that goes down. So when I put the paint over it, sometimes the paint will overlap the line, but I can bring the line back by using a small scraping device. And I'll use the scraping device to scrape into the color sometime as well, just to add more surface texture. But yeah, the red line, it's become more of a signature thing. And kind of like when I look at Van Gogh paintings, there is a definite outline in almost all of his work that sort of uses as a barrier to develop his forms. And then the paint is added within the barrier of the line. And so this is again goes back to early Christian. I think this painting's is a painting that's in the National Gallery in Washington, D.C. I doubt that it's so recognizable. It has people in it. It has things going on. But the initial source came from a small painting in the National Gallery in Washington. And so I took a photograph of it. I can enlarge it on the computer. These are all 8 by 8 or 10 by 10. So I can blow the photograph up, and I always do it in black and white. and then I can do a tracing over various pieces. I can move the tracing paper around. I can do a cut and paste. And so it gives me a lot of flexibility without having to get really techy about it.
So on June 22nd, you're
Yes.
offering a workshop, Geometric
Yes.
Inspirations Painting. Can
Yeah,
you talk
geometric.
about that a little bit?
We've run it in the gallery a couple times as a longer session where we just explore. Well, what I do is I bring to the students my methods of working. So there's a number of ways we can approach this. Some students are looking for a way maybe to get into abstraction or maybe to take source material that they're already working with, but work with it in a different way. So some people are looking possibly to start a whole new body of work. So I go through the way that I approach source material, and once I have something that is interesting to me, the methods of tracing, methods of transferring, or methods of working with pure geometric form in a non-representational way. Right now, the work for me is coming from various source materials, but we also look at just making composition just from a pure geometric form. So we go over the possibilities. I have a lot of artists that I bring to the class in book form. We look at Instagram artists that I follow on Instagram, just to bring a lot of as many possibilities as we can to my various methods of working in hope of inspiring or opening a door for somebody who's looking for a different way of working or a way that might enhance the way that they're already working. As I said, maybe a new body of work, maybe a new method of working. So all of that we try to cover within the workshop. And the workshop that's coming up is going to be just a condensed version of what we have done over 4 or 5 class sessions. But I think we can get through it in an afternoon, or I can at least get enough information that people can get started.
And if people want more information about the workshop or to sign up, it's on our website, ceruleanarts.com, and the studio page. And well, and it's a great show, Michael. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And all the work, the show is up through June 1st. We hope people come down to see it. And the show itself is also available on the website, ceruleanarts.com.
Okay.
And thanks so much for being here and have a great night.
Okay, thank you. See you soon. Bye-bye.